introduce you to my book. Though it might at first appear like many books you've come across, it is far from ordinary. You may, therefore, have some misunderstandings about its nature. The story that awaits you has not been fully told. In fact, its conclusion is not yet known, even to myself. It is in that way that my book is special. It is in that way that you are special. Without you, there is no story. Chapter 1, Normal Isn't What It Used to Be. This is a story about nestled in a shallow valley is the town of Beacon. Far from the town square, across the river, past the neglected welcome sign, a young boy walks alone at dawn. His name is Luca Van Horn, and like you, dear reader, he's here for a reason.
Hey, Dad. Was? Ich habe das aus einem gewissen Grundsatz so gemacht, oder du Arschgesicht? Hab ich noch einen extra Wunschalter? Ah, halt's Maul. So.
Luca's closest friend. He possessed many fine qualities, but subtlety was not one of them. Rollo finally noticed the tears welling in his friend's eyes and the flowers on the grave. Wonderful! I had a good feeling about you from the moment you opened my book. That charm is a very special thing. Very special. Keep hold of it for now. Its purpose will reveal itself soon enough.
Choo.
Rollo looked to the side suspiciously. Dear reader, forgive me for this interlude. Remember that that charm you found in the dandelion patch? There are more of those special charms to discover throughout Beacon. They've been known to reveal themselves to those who are willing. Some of them can be found in this very
house.
When Gran had moved in, the house was more peaceful, more orderly, and more covered in flowery fabric. One of his father's old stethoscopes. Luca had spent countless hours listening to anything and everything with it. Not for years, though. Gran had already lit the fire. She kept a warm house. Just some dusty knickknacks.
Knickknacks.
Luca paused at his parents' bedroom door. He just wasn't ready to go in yet. Gran had commandeered the upstairs closet when she moved in. Some things need shelter from a young boy's mischief, she said. Gran's moving in meant that most of Luca's things had been crammed in the corner. Luca was somewhat annoyed by the situation. Luca tossed on his favorite old sweater. Even though it was the first day of summer, a chill still hung in the air.
Chill. Was, Netflix? Ich chill nicht. Gib mir My Cube-Base und ich chill es.
Was undisturbed. Luca didn't mind that she had a habit of falling asleep in front of the fire. It meant that he could read late into the night. An array of prepared meals crowded the refrigerator, each labeled with the day of the week. A pair of dull scissors, a broken can opener, a mostly empty bottle of glue, and some loose string. The only piece of furniture Gran had brought when she moved in was an old hutch. Oh my, this is quite exciting. I am now certain you are the one I've been waiting for all these years. You'll recall I was a bit coy regarding the use of charms earlier. Excuse me, I tend to have a flair for the dramatic. You are about to encounter your first turning point. There are certain times in this tale when everything hinges on a single word. Step forth, dear reader.
Was?
A sturdy old wheelbarrow.
Dann nicht. Oh, das ist später.
Young Luca would spend hours hiding in the bushes, waiting for a chance to jump out and startle his mother. She always enjoyed humoring him by feigning terror. A beginner's guide to gardening laid open on the bench. The less Gran knew, the better for everyone involved. We were just gonna go chill for the day. The best lies are built on truth. Easy.
Easy.
Impressive. You managed to navigate your first turning point without too much of a mess. That is the power of charm. A single word can change everything. I think it's time to introduce you to the Chronicle. shows a record of the decisions you've made. You can see the turning point which has been revealed. At any time, you can use the chronicle to go back and invoke different charms, creating new branches. Luckily for us, this is the one and only turning point where the charms won't dramatically alter fate. It's the perfect opportunity to experiment with rewriting things. We were just gonna go chill for the day. The best lies are built on truth. Easy.
Easy.
For a town that saw few visitors, the welcome was perhaps more grand than necessary. The road leading to Beacon Pines was long and uninspiring, a sort of natural barrier for the... Welcome to Beacon Pines. For many years, this valley had been a small mining outpost. It wasn't until Sharper Valentine built his fertilizer company that Beacon Pines was established. Over the next 30 years, the town had grown and prospered until the foul harvest and his son. In the 6 years since, everyone was simply trying to get by. Mayor Augustus Valentine was not. Flustered, Gus instinctively loosened his tie. Was the CEO of Perennial Harvest Company. He had become a fixture around town over the past few years. After the failing of Valentine fertilizer, the town was hungry to welcome a new source of employment. Mr. Sinclair continued snoring and lifted one eyelid just enough to see who it was, a tactic he often used to avoid undesirable conversation. He pulled a pen from the pocket of his sweater vest and began to frantically jot something down on a clipboard. and glanced up from the clipboard. Whenever Luca saw his dad's chair by the pond, it reminded him of the days they'd pack up a couple of sandwiches and fish until sundown. Luca opened the tackle box and picked the perfect bait. Luca tied a shoestring to the hook. What fish could resist a nice shoestring?
Einfach ein Shoestring.
Luca tied a what fish could Luca tied what fish?
What? Hallo und hallo.
Hallo und hallo.
Hallo. Na gut. Dann wünsche ich dir mal viel Spaß beim Spielen und so. Ich habe auch viel Speicherplatz. Aber ich glaube genug. Ja, 64. Das wird reichen. So, gut. Hallo, 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 hallo. So. Das passt.
Spiele ich das mit Controller?
The best policy. Luca paused for a moment, catching his breath. He'd only just met Beck, and somehow he already managed to drag her into this mess. Hopefully he could make it up to her, but finding Rollo was his primary concern. Roxy and Fitz looked drained. It was clear they'd spent all day searching. Roxy's temper could often be dismissed as the impatience of an older sibling. But this was the most intense Luca had ever seen her. Her eyes were wild and unfocused, looking straight through Luca. In a torrent of rambled words and tears, Luca broke down. Roxy, still exhausted and angry, softened briefly as her eyes hunted the ground in thought. With a determined sigh, she looked up at Luca. Roxy drew herself up. Roxy tried to think of the safest place to send Luca. Luca wiped his cheeks and gave a quick nod. Looking into the puddle, Roxy rubbed her arms to warm up.
The wheelies. The wheelies. Ja, wie sie doch gesagt hat, I got the wheelies.
Mr. Nuncree jumped with a start. Luca motioned to the phone booth.
Draußen feiern, hättest du Bock? Auch nix.
Mr. Nuncree gently placed one of his substantial hands on Luca's shoulder. Luca peered up at Mr. Nuncree. Kind eyes warmed a stern face. There was a deeper emotion hiding beneath it all. It was subtle, but Luca could sense something eating away at him. There was a shame lurking behind those eyes. A deep sadness. If Mr. Nuncree was that worried about Rollo, maybe he could help. Mr. Nuncree raised an eyebrow. Mr. Nuncree's shoulders slumped. A deep sigh bellowed from his... Luca attempted to take a step back, but Nuncreed's hand clamped down on his With a firm shove, Nuncreed manhandled Luca into the phone booth. The door latched shut with a mechanical hiss. As Luca pounded the glass, the floor dropped from under his feet. The inside of the phone booth was now a loose capsule plummeting at gravity's whim. Luca winced and pressed his hands to the walls. As he braced for impact, the capsule hurried to a surprisingly smooth stop. He felt a cold rush of air and opened his eyes with two large figures in hazmat suits occluded his view. Luca heard the deep, resigned voice of Mr. Nuncreed over an intercom. He knows too much. The end. Wait, this isn't the end. I know there's still much more. Somehow this went wrong. Okay, let's...
Wo soll ich dingsen? Ja. Ja, und wie ist es, also wenn ich jetzt zum Beispiel Hide verwenden will, muss ich dann von hier, das ist ja von ganz am Anfang, muss ich dann von da wieder anfangen zu spielen?
Well, time to bust out the strange. Beck stared in silence, the only sign of life being the twitch of an... At the sight of Iggy taunting Beck, something in Luca snapped. Iggy's smirk shifted to a look of shock as Luca launched himself into his stomach. Iggy's clothes were drenched in the glowing ooze. Iggy's voice began to slur as he struggled to get up.
Radioactive.
The person at the warehouse. This strange ooze and what it did to Iggy. Was Rollo caught up in all of this?
Mhm. Mhm.
Beck glanced toward Luca. Rolo was safe. A wave of relief washed over Luca, which was quickly replaced by a sense of dread. Gran is going to kill me. If he hurried, he might just make it home before sundown. Chapter 4. Our Harvest.
Ja? Ja, eigentlich schon. Ja.
Luca took a deep breath and gingerly opened the door, steeling himself for Gran's wrath.
Gucken.
Luca was alone. The house was empty. Luca was sitting by the pond, listening to small waves lap against. His father sat in a folding chair in front of him. Without turning, he spoke. "Why don't you grab me some nice bait?" "Sure thing, Dad." Luca hopped over to the tackle box and popped open the lid. Inside was a rolling, buzzing mass. "We're fishing with bees?" Luca's father gave a warm chuckle. "Well, you catch more fish with bees than honey. Pick us out a good one." Luca closed his eyes and plucked out a bee. He could feel its wings struggle between his finger and thumb. Holding it at arm's length, he hurried over. His father deftly baited the hook and examined his work. "Interesting choice." With a practiced flick of the wrist, the line buzzed in a graceful arc. The water accepted it without a splash or ripple. The wrong choice. But I respect it. The pond began to freeze over. Sometimes we gotta make the wrong choice before we can make it right. Pallid ice propagated across the still surface with an alarming speed. Luca scrambled back as the ground beneath him turned cold. "Dad, I don't understand." "Sorry, kiddo. Understanding isn't always part of the deal." The relentless ice shot through the fishing line toward his father. "Dad, look out!" His father casually wound the reel. "None of it's your fault, you know. Never was." "Dad, we have to go." Luca grabbed his father's shoulders, trying to pull him away. "Please, you have to run." The ice crackled as it spread across his father's hands. That's the thing about fishing, Luca. His chest began to crystallize. You toss your hook in, and you never know what you're gonna pull out. A shock of searing cold ran up Luca's arms. He gave one last desperate tug. The chair tipped backwards in a single frozen mass. Luca tried to stop the momentum, but it was too late. He watched the icy form of his father slam into the hard ground, shattering into 1,000 pieces that crowded around his feet. "Dad, I don't understand. What does all this mean?" The gentle rustle of leaves was the only reply. Luca's eyes struggled to focus on the walkie-talkie. Faintly, he could hear Rolo amongst the noise. Rolo's voice was coming through more clearly now, but some words were still just static. The signal went silent. Luca held still, waiting for a response, his pounding heartbeat marking the passage of time. Lolo's voice began to fade. With that, the signal died for good. Luca grabbed the walkie-talkie and sprinted to the treehouse. Luca heard a group of footsteps approaching.
Bin ich
He
überrascht.
dashed behind the bushes to avoid being spotted. Mr. Tolliver paused, shifting his eyes to one side. Mr. Tolliver took one long, quiet breath. The three shared a determined look.
Nee, ich weiß auch nicht mehr lang.
The two boys shared a mischievous grin.
Ja, ja. Ja, weil ich den Bereich auch mal kurz wollte.
Luca wrapped some tape around the hook. Hey, you never know. Luca wrapped. Hey. Luca stuck a toy stretchy hand. Those things always get dirty and Luca placed the finger. Sometimes the best. Luca gently kneaded a feather. Good first. Luca could only see a cloaked shape behind the rocket. He strained to hear as a muffled voice began. Fear gripped Luca's throat. Luca stared at the ground for a moment, trying to place the dampened voice. The figure shifted slowly from behind the rocket, revealing itself to Luca. Luca reached over empathetically. Iggy's tone jolted to dejected anger. Luca slumped to the ground, overwhelmed by guilt. Iggy slumped to his knees. Luca grabbed the walkie-talkie and headed for the window. Luca and Iggy climbed up the back of the treehouse to its roof, where Rollo had constructed his MC-DC, the Mission Control Defense Cannon. From behind the crowd of clipboards, William Kerr strode forward, a warm smile on his face. Kerr's smile faltered. Luca's grip tightened on the MCDC. Luca's mind raced. He was caught in a trap. What do you do when there's no hope? He wiped his cheeks with a sleeve. What are you gonna do, Luca? Luca drew himself up and decided to take the only option they had left. Fight. He swung the Mission Control Defense Cannon around, aiming it confidently at the smirking face of William Kerr. Luca summoned his most insolent demeanor. Kerr turned his back on the two boys. With a nonchalant wave of the hand, he made his exit. As the clipboards began to slowly advance on the treehouse, Luca looked to Iggy with resignation in his eyes. The end. That
The end.
escalated